So before the shutdown deadline, more fireworks expected on Capitol Hill next week. Senators are set to grill the CEO behind the popular weight loss drugs Ozempic and Wegovy. The CEO of Novo Nordisk has faced months of criticism from lawmakers over the high cost of these drugs. According to Senator Bernie Sanders, who chairs the HELP committee, a month's supply of Ozempic, get this, it costs almost $1,000 in the U.S. compared to $59 in Germany. And Senator Sanders is joining us now. Senator, great to have you here with us. We have talked about this issue before. There is a huge demand for these drugs, but it'll be really hard to pay for them, right? When you question the Novo Nordisk CEO, what answers will you be after?
Well, we basically want to know why he is charging the American people 10 or 15 times more for the same exact product that he's charging people in Europe, Canada, and elsewhere. And I think basically, he may say it or not, the answer is he can do it in the United States because he can get away with it. Other countries have strong laws. They negotiate prices. In America, historically, until very recently, drug companies could charge us any price they want. And in the case of Ozempic and Wegovy, we're dealing with the need to deal with epidemics in diabetes and obesity, costing us lives, costing us a lot of suffering, and huge amounts of money treating these illnesses. So you have a good drug. They have got to make this drug affordable for the American people so that we can begin to deal in an effective way with diabetes and obesity.
Novo Nordisk argues the net price of Ozempic after discounts and rebates has actually declined 40% since this drug was approved in 2017. What do you make of that argument that the prices have come down and they could fall even more?
Well, first of all, what they're talking about is, in some cases, after rebates from PBMs, charging $600. Number two, if you are uninsured or underinsured and you go to your pharmacy, you're going to pay the list price, which is close to $1,000. Number three, if you are on insurance and you get this for a reasonable price, the reason your insurance prices are going to be very, very high. So people can pay a reasonable price for the drug, but they're paying it at the other end in terms of high insurance rates. Also, I would add, these guys want to see Medicaid cover the product. They want to see Medicare cover the product. The estimate is that we would literally bankrupt Medicare, raise premiums to an unaffordable rate if we in the United States had to pay the prices that Novo Nordisk wants.
Affordability, accessibility to health care. This has been a huge focus of your work. So I have to ask you about the comments we heard from Donald Trump at the debate saying he saved Obamacare. Here's what he said.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
So those comments, in addition to saying he saved Obamacare, what's your reaction to what he is saying?
It's really quite amazing, Anna. He has been in 3 political campaigns. He has been president for 4 years. We are in the midst of a very serious health care crisis. We spend twice as much per capita on health care as any other nation. 85 million Americans uninsured or underinsured. Our life expectancy is lower than many other countries. And after all of that time, he is working on a concept for a plan. And obviously, he did not save the Affordable Care Act. He worked his tail off as president to make sure that it would be defeated. We saved it by 1 vote, John McCain's vote.
I want to switch gears to the recent apparent assassination attempt. Trump took to social media after this incident to blame Vice President Harris's rhetoric about him, saying this, quote, "Because of this communist left rhetoric, the bullets are flying and it will only get worse." How do you see those comments and the current threat level?
Look, I hope it goes without saying that everybody in America, no matter what your political point of view is, understands that violence of any shape or form is unacceptable in America. We have our disagreements. We don't express them violently. End of discussion. But, it's funny coming from Trump, whose rhetoric has been the most ugly, I think, of any president or presidential candidate in history. I think what you just read me, he called Kamala Harris a communist. I mean, you know, that is so totally absurd. So here is this guy coming up with outrageous rhetoric, and then he blames other people for the violence. So I would suggest to Donald Trump, tone it down. Let's have a debate on issues. Let's have honest disagreements, but don't start calling people terrible names or suggesting that people are communists when, of course, they are not.
2 apparent assassination attempts already in this election cycle. I mean, it's just unheard of, right? Or almost
Yes.
unheard of. Right now, Congress is considering a boost of funding for the Secret Service. Would you support that?
Yes, I would. I think, look, again, it goes without saying. We want all of our candidates to be able to go out and campaign and be perfectly safe. And, of course, people who come to rallies to be safe as well.
I want to ask about government funding. We're less than 2 weeks away from a potential shutdown. As we just reported yesterday, your Republican colleague, Mitch McConnell, said it would be beyond stupid to shut down the government in an election year specifically. I know you and Senator McConnell don't always agree, to say the least, but do you agree on this?
Yeah, I think he was quite right. If the Republicans shut down the government, you know, a month before an election, it would be, I think, as McConnell indicated, political malfunction. You know, the truth of the matter is that what's going on in the House in general right now under Republican leadership is really quite crazy. I think people have called it the least effective Congress in modern American history. They do very little except make political attacks. Country faces serious problems. The American people, at the very least, do not want to see their government shut down. I hope that Speaker Johnson understands that.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for your time, and we will be watching that hearing with Novo Nordisk CEO next week. Appreciate you getting out front on that issue.